years, I'd say he's done all right. Bobby Kennedy Jr., son of the New York senator, has starred in a television documentary that was on Kenya. He graduated from Harvard University and the London School of Economics, and has just had his first book published. The book's title is Judge Frank M. Johnson, Jr., Biography. I'm very pleased to welcome Bobby Kennedy this morning to Good Day. And first of all, I want to say congratulations. I think it was something that really, when I first heard the title, I was wondering, well, how many people really are that interested? They should be interested in this man, right?
Well, there's a lot of people in Alabama, and George Wallace certainly is. He's had a great effect on, I think, the entire South and on the civil rights movement in this country in general.
Truly a remarkable man. This is the man that Griffin Bell wanted to have named, or Jimmy Carter did, as head of the FBI, but because of ill health, he could not. But he was the federal judge in Alabama, as you say, that had such an impact on not just Alabama, but the South.
That's right. During the 60s, he integrated every major institution in Alabama. Because of the political structure down there, and really a politics that really involved, George Wallace politics, that really involved a stance of defiance, he was really forced to go in and actually take over institutions that in other places in the South where there was a certain amount of compliance to federal orders. Like in another state, a governor might say, yeah, we'll integrate this school and put 2 or 3 blacks in. Yeah. In Alabama, Wallace's politics really forced him to say, no, we're going to stand firm. I'm going to stand in the schoolhouse door. And Johnson was actually forced to come in and take over the entire school system.
You write of the relationship between Judge Johnson and George Wallace. Once friends in school, then bitter adversaries.
That's right. They went to school together at the University of Alabama.
George Wallace copied his notes?
Well,
where'd you find that out?
I don't think he exactly copied his notes, but I think Johnson might have given him somehow.
I see. But that schoolhood friendship dissolved on the steps of the courts.
That's right. I think it was in 1958. There was a voting records case in Bullock County, of which Wallace was judge.
Johnson's
judge.
Republican, isn't he?
Yeah, he was.
There are not too many of those in Alabama.
No, very few.
Was that part of it, or?
Yeah, that was part of it. He came from a section of the state called Winston County, which was a mountain county up in the northwest corner of Alabama. And during the Civil War, it actually seceded from the rest of the state and established an independent nation and printed its own money. Yeah. And they've never had slaves, and they've really had always had an opposition to dominant political.
Sort of like West Virginia.
That's right.
Between Virginia and West Virginia.
Exactly.
I want to ask you, why, when you went to the South, to Alabama, did you go there explicitly to do a book or a story on Johnson?
No, I actually went down to write about Wallace and about Southern politics in general.
And you came across this man?
Just everywhere I looked, I'd find Johnson. So.
Why should we be interested, Bobby, in a man like Johnson?
Well, I think, he's really, I think he's a pretty important guy to me, because I think he's really shown throughout his career a dedication to integrity and courage, and that you seldom see in American politics today. And I just think he's one of the few guys left who really, picks a certain ideological base or moral base and stands by it.
Well, I'd like to say right now, if we'll open up the telephones. If you have any questions, or if you'd like to talk to Bobby, now's a great time to do it. There's so much ground to cover, and I don't want to take the whole time to talk about Frank Johnson, although we could easily. I'll save some of that for you when you read the book. It's a good book. I enjoyed it. I want to talk a little bit about you. London School of Economics, Harvard. Now you're going to go to Harvard Law School, right?
No, I'm not going to go to Harvard Law School.
You're not?
No. I think I'm going to go down south.
To law school there?
That's right.
Now you are on the path of politicians.
Well, I've got a long time to think about it, John.
You have a family of political know-how, but have you committed yourself to a political future?
I don't think so. I think I'll probably do some form of public service. I think everybody in my family really feels that a lot of my father's goals and ideals are worth pursuing. But I wouldn't necessarily restrict myself to politics. We can't all go into politics.
Bobby, are Southern and Northern politics really different?
I think they're a lot different. I think that politics seem to me a lot more lively down south. It's a one-party system, and that always makes it so that really the guy who can attract the most attention. A lot of times ends up
Massachusetts
being
politics
elected.
has that reputation too.
Well, it's getting there.
Yeah.
It's getting there.
Well, it had it before when was your great grandfather, Honeyfitz?
Right. Well, that was Boston politics.
Yeah.
But we still had some Republican Brahmins out in Concord and even on Star Drive.
Yeah, I was going to say if you do now, you think about you're talking about University of Virginia.
That's
They have
right.
a good law school.
That's right.
And if you do that, would you? Will Massachusetts always be your home base, or would it be Virginia?
No, New York's my home base.
Although your home is in Virginia, right?
New York's my home base. Really.
I read that you really consider New York home,
Yeah.
don't you?
My dad was senator from New York.
I know, but their home was Hickory Knoll? What is it? Hickory Hill?
Hickory Hill's
Hickory Hill.
Washington Hill.
Yeah.
But
and your mother lives there.
that's right.
That's where all your brothers and sisters. That's home, isn't it?
Well, that's where I was raised, but I consider New York really my home.
Well, have you talked to your Uncle Edward about it?
About what?
About your future? Has he given any advice?
He, I think, my brother's probably, my brother ran his campaign up here, and I've talked to him and Teddy about it. Yeah. And, I like New York. I've always considered that my home.
Bobby, I read a quote, a Frank Johnson quote, and it was about his own father, about Frank's father. He said that his father never had a prejudice, and he always went to the heart, and he never believed there were two classes of citizens. Does that kind of remind you of your own father? Is that maybe why you pursued Frank Johnson?
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways that they had similar goals and ideals.
You think your father's career will ultimately have an influence on where you go?
Well, like I said before, I think, that really we've been raised, the way we've been raised, and I think the way that most of my family thinks is that his goals and a lot of his ideals are really worth pursuing. And that's what my mother's been working on.
Even at the risk of the tragic events of your father and your uncle?
Well, I didn't necessarily say I was going to go into politics. I mean,
So
I think I've got a lot of thinking to do about what.
I would think so. Well, you'd have to think twice about that, wouldn't you? Does it frighten you at all?
Well, I think that's an occupational hazard at this point. I think there's so much that you can do through politics or through some kind of public service.
What about your brother, Joseph?
What about him?
What about him? Is he going to do it?
Is he going to
run for office?
I don't know. I think he's pretty happy where he is right now, and I think he's doing a
run
really good job.
Yeah. He's got a good job?
Yeah, I think he's got a really good job, and he's really happy.
What's he doing now?
He's working for the Community Service Administration. He's helping to set up community projects all over the country.
But having such an illustrious family, such a big family, well, it's a big family, you are in a fishbowl. You can't escape it. Is it tough to handle?
I think that I probably learned to deal with that when I was much younger, and I think we've all learned to sort of take the good with the bad. Yeah. I think the advantages of the position that I was raised in really outweigh the disadvantages.
Again, I'm going to say the telephone lines are open. If you have any questions or if you have any comments, now's the time to do it. We have a call? All right. Good morning.
I'd like to ask Mr. Kennedy, in reference to his comment about the politics of the South being one-party politics, if he is in favor of a single-party system of government. I'd like to have him expand on that comment that he made a little bit.
No, I think that's what they have in the USSR and probably I think it's probably a evidence of some kind of totalitarianism, and certainly in the South it was deliberately set up to control the black vote. I wouldn't like to see that.
All right, thank you. Let's take another call. Good morning.
Good morning. Am I coming through?
You sure are.
Okay. John, I'd like to ask Mr. Kennedy that if he really believed what he said about the late President Johnson being a man dedicated to truth and integrity, in view of the fact of President Johnson's close association with Bobby Baker.
Yeah, well, there's a bit of a mix-up here. We're talking about the judge, Frank Johnson, not Lyndon Johnson.
I beg your pardon?
We're talking about Judge Frank Johnson from Alabama, not Lyndon Johnson.
Oh, I am sorry.
That's all right.
Okay. Good show anyway.
Yeah, a lot of Johnsons around, too. Okay, let's take another call. Good morning. Have you got the call? All right. There's one thing that I want before we get to our zucchini festival, and you're going to help me,
Oh
right?
yeah, I'm gonna
You
eat some
promise.
zucchini.
Yummy. My
You're gonna
aura's
help-
working.
Okay, your aura, right. Before we get over there, though, where'd you get those shoes?
Oh, those are Alabama shoes.
Man, you can kick a lot of tires with
Did
those.
they
I'll
kill
tell
a
you.
gator to make those
That's
shoes?
right. No, I think that's fake skin there.
It is. That's
Some kind of boot, I'll tell you.
terrific.
Okay, we're going to take a break, and the moment you've been waiting for, with an added starter here, Bobby's going to help me in there. We're going to have our zucchini festival in just a second. Don't go away.
Where'd you get those shoes?